Here we go again. Into the looking glass.
October is the month of Halloween, and in the entertainment industry, they usually try to cash in on this by releasing a new horror title, whether it be a video game or movie. The Evil Within was a surprise hit amongst many, including myself, and critically it did pretty good. However, sales figures showed differently. With the announcement of Evil Within 2, fans of the original were excited, and newcomers found it a perfect time to dive into the original, as the sequel follows up a couple of years after the events of the original. However, it may not be the sequel everyone had hoped for. During the opening acts of the game, the protagonist Sebastian is contacted by agents of Mobius, who, if you're not familiar with, created the stem pods from the original game. The best way to describe this is comparing it to being jacked into the Matrix. Mobius designed new pods, and their ultimate goal is for people to have chips in their heads and ultimately being able to control the world. Sebastian also learned that his daughter Lily is still alive, and Mobius needs her as a pure core in order for their STEM products to function correctly. Thus, naturally, Sebastian goes into the STEM to find her. He is then transported into a generic town called Union, faced with many obstacles, and which then essentially becomes an open world game. Without giving away too much, Sebastian is a much more likable character this time around. However, it feels as if I've seen this story many times. A father who wasn't there for his daughter gets constantly reminded of that and just wants to make up for his mistakes. After the first game, you'd think that Sebastian has learned from all of these horror traps and is already familiar with certain creatures, but he still seems surprised when he sees a disfigured demon running towards him. After spending over a dozen hours on Evil Within 2, the story ultimately concludes with a satisfying ending, although it does leave me wanting more. The side missions in the open world often made me question as to why I should do X or escort Y to a certain position, and it just felt a bit out of place and just put there for filler. Visually, the game can look stunning at times. The creature design is horrible, but in a good way, often making me want to turn away as soon as I see them because it is genuinely scary at times. The lighting effects also does a great job, but it somewhat feels that the game took a slight step backwards from the first one in order to compensate for the open world. The sound design didn't disappoint though. Playing with the 5.1 surround sound headphones made the gameplay experience that much more immersive. Some of the creatures makes the most horrible screeches and noises that you can imagine, and the music once again doesn't disappoint. The voice acting though does a good job, but nothing out of the ordinary, as it feels as if the voice actors were just there to do their job and left. The gameplay was a bit of a mixed bag. The original clearly felt like a survival horror with its narrow corridors, limited ammo and dark areas. Its sequel jumps from the open world to narrow corridors and back to the open world filled with loot caches and stock to make Sebastian feel like an unstoppable force, whereas compared to the first one, I felt that ammo was a rare sight. You can also stealth kill enemies, which doesn't use ammo, and you instantly kill them, and I found myself easily sneaking through some areas, leaving dead bodies without breaking a sweat. I didn't feel that tension from the original, aside from a few jump scares. During your playthrough, you'll find weapons and parts to craft resources and items either in the field but at a higher cost or at one of the workbenches found in the game. At these workbenches, you'll also be able to upgrade your weapons and abilities, but towards the end of the game, I had most of the skills upgraded, and it made me question as to why I was so selective with which skills to choose from. One of the strengths of the game was its unique boss design. Although at times it felt like I was just going through my ammo to defeat certain bosses, many of them have weaknesses which you can exploit after learning each one's flaw. The Evil Within 2 was a great experience despite its many bugs and toned down difficulty. It feels more like an action adventure instead of a survival horror, just to appeal to more fans, and it takes away completely from what made the original so unique. Usually I rate games at a buy now, wait for sale, look in the bargain bin, or rather avoid rating, and I would say that The Evil Within 2 is worth buying when you wait for a sale. When you finish the game, there is a plus mode and a classic mode, but I didn't feel the need to run through the game again despite enjoying the sequel. It's a fun and scary experience, bugged with a predictable story and a lack of the survival horror aspect. I'd like to thank Sterk-Kinekor for the review code, and if you like this video then give me a thumbs up. If you dislike it, give me a thumbs down, but please tell me why, so I can improve my videos. My name is Frank, I'm the Red Tie Guy, and frankly, thank you for watching. Catch you guys in the next video.